So how do you actually take advantage of the bishop pair in chess? Everyone always talks about the bishop pair as some superpower, that you can't trade a bishop for a knight. But how do you actually take advantage of it? I was doing a little bit of my own chess study the other day, like genius in that, I know. And I came across these two puzzles that show how bishop pairs can actually be just so dangerous. Now, as we look at this first one, we're playing as white, and white has a plus 5.1 advantage, even though all the material is equal. And when we look at this position, it's white to move, and it has a brilliant move that actually wins the game. And the first thing I see is that our two bishops are just extremely active, cutting off black's king, looking directly at them. And the one really important thing for this mating idea that we see is that black has pushed this c6 pawn, which just creates my dark squared bishop as this extreme danger. Now, the brilliant move for white, pause it if you want to have a quick look, is actually queen a6. And the reason this is so brilliant is because it sacrifices the queen, and it also uses both of white's bishops to just cause absolute chaos around black's king. And the reason why black's not able to take, because if they take, we're going to bring the light squared bishop in with the dark squared bishop already cutting off the king to deliver a checkmate there. So obviously we're not going to be able to take, but we're also threatening to take this pawn here on a7. So the only way black can really come in and save that pawn is by bringing their queen here to c5. But the reason this doesn't work is because, yes, it defends the a7 square, but we've got so much activity with our bishops and our knights just causing chaos around black's king. So we're going to be able to chase it in. And then obviously we're attacking the queen here. And the only way they're able to save the queen is by bringing it here to this f2 square, but also defend this a7 square. But this doesn't work because then white has his queen sacrifice, checking the king. Obviously the king's still cut off by the dark squared bishop. And then the same idea in the Boden's mate, we call that. If they take, the bishop pair comes in to deliver a checkmate. All right. So the better move for black in this position would have been to come here instead of going f2, come e3, giving a check, and then obviously trading. But then they take our queen, and then we've just got so much activity with our bishops and all our pieces gonna come in and just ruin black's king. But then finally, the best move for black in this position, instead of taking the queen or bringing their own queen in to save this a7 square, is actually coming back with the knight. But the reason this move doesn't really work and white's still able to cause chaos is because we can take on this a7 square now, and then we're threatening to sort of, with the dark square bishop, create all these back-throwing checkmates, which is just absolutely diabolical for black. And this is why the bishop pair is just so dangerous, because we've got both our bishops on open diagonals looking at the king, eventually just looking to suffocate it. Now, when we look at this second puzzle, it's the same sort of thing. This time we're playing as black, and again, black has a plus 4.6 advantage, even though the material's the same. Now, I want you to have a pause and see if you can find the best move for black. And this time, it's not some crazy queen sacrifice, but it's actually a little bit of a more subtle move that, again, tries to use the idea of capitalizing on having the bishop pair. And look at this. We see this light squared bishop is doing that same thing as a previous puzzle. They've pushed this pawn on c3, and now it's just fully cutting off white's king on this extremely strong diagonal. And I know it's like, in this position, we both have both bishop pairs. So we've got our two bishops, and they've got their two bishops as well. But what the difference is here is our two bishops are looking straight in the direction of their king, whereas theirs are a little bit misplaced. Yes, this light squared bishop has a lot of scope, but it's not really looking at too much. And this one is looking at our king, but it's quite well defended, given we haven't pushed the pawns in front of our king and our knights here on c6, okay? So the nice move for black in this position is actually the subtle pushing d5. And the reason this is such a great move is because it opens up the scope for this dark square bishop to now work in combination with our light square bishop, which is already doing God's work around white's king. Now, the reason this move is so good is because, yes, as we said, it opens the scope up, but it also now looks to take advantage of the bishop pair indirectly by attacking the bishop. And now, You say, why can't black just take that pawn? Because if they take that pawn, we're going to come in with the same idea, sacrificing our queen. And then if they take, which they have to do because the king's already cut off, they take this same idea in the Boden's mate. The dark square will come in, checkmating the king with both bishops going absolutely crazy around the king. So the best move for white, instead of taking the pawn, is actually just to sacrifice the bishop, bringing the knight back. And then this is just a winning position of us, and we've sort of indirectly taken advantage of having the bishop pair, because now we're able to take their bishop and now they don't have the bishop pair, and now we've just got such a strong position going into the next phase of the mid game, already up a piece, still having both of the bishop pairs, and now they've only got one bishop, and our king is just so well defended. But yeah, obviously having the bishop pair is an advantage in chess, even though when we think about it, a knight and a bishop, they're both only worth 3 points of material, but it is so important that we know how to take advantage of it. Even just as we said, by looking at these weak points, like pushing c3 and the previous position as well. We don't want to be pushing pawns around a king because then it just leaves us open for trouble. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. Obviously a little bit of a new setup here. Got my boys Magnus and Tull. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. If you think it's terrible, also let me know. But yeah, I love you all. See you in the next one. Peace.